In the heart of America's tumultuous 1960s, amidst the fervor of the civil rights movement, emerged a voice that blended comedy with activism, laughter with protest.
But when you balance it all out, I guess this is still the most fascinating country in the whole world. Where else would I have to ride on the back of a bus, have a choice of going to the worst schools, eating in the worst restaurants, living in the worst neighborhoods, and average $5,000 a week per year just talking about it?
Born in St. Louis, Missouri, 1932, Dick Gregory was destined for a life filled with laughter and social change.
And a lot of people don't understand us. I was doing an interview not too long ago, and a fellow said, "Greg, I'm glad you investing your money, and I'm glad you saving, because so many people of your race have died broke that have made big money." But what he didn't understand, I'm spending mine. Because I feel to be born black in America, you owe yourself $100,000 worth of treats just to get even.
His journey took him from the stages of comedy clubs to the front lines of struggle for equality.
Well, I suggest to the President of the United States, if he want to know how much effect you youngsters can have on the President, he should make one long-distance phone call to the LBJ Ranch and ask that boy how much effect you can have.
Dick Gregory was more than just a comedian.
You know, there are so many things that you know.
Yes.
That you've not begun to share with the public yet. I mean, you are...
Some you can't.
I didn't ask you that till you keep talking to me. I don't want to hear. I asked you, have you ever seen a picture of his daddy?
No, I have not.
Have you ever heard a story about his daddy?
He was a trailblazer who used humor as a tool for social commentary.
Have you ever stopped to think that if all the Negroes left the South, buses would ride like this?
He confronted taboo subjects fearlessly, addressing issues of race, politics, and injustice, even when they were met with resistance. With his sharp wit and unyielding activism, Dick Gregory compelled America to confront its darkest realities.
I mean, now don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind paying my income tax if I knew it was going to a friendly country.
All while instilling a vision of hope for a better tomorrow. This is Dick Gregory.
And here is Dick Gregory.
Dick Gregory started his career off in the tough-willed St. Louis, Missouri. In those days, comedy clubs did not yet exist.
And so coming out of an all-Negro community in St. Louis. Now, St. Louis is bad enough.
That's where you're originally from.
So comics often performed in the same clubs as musicians. Those clubs had a totally different method of operation than the ones you'll find today. Talent took a back seat to racial politics, and comedians many times found themselves entangled with the mob who ran most of the nightclubs.
It's kind of interesting because at that time when I come through, the mob owned about 99% of the clubs. And here's the book, guy come through, fragile, not a mob, and did it. And in the world, it's different.
Dick Gregory willed himself through this operation with grit and unfound talent. A talent that would lead to doors that he would kick down.
When I came through, no black had ever worked the white nightclub. Now, you hear all this old crap y'all be talking here in New York. The Cotton Club was in Harlem, but black folk couldn't come there. This brother was at Playboy Club. They worked 7 days a week. He refused to work 7 days. And I got the call.
In a time where black entertainers were not allowed to perform in white clubs flat-footed.
There was never a law that said black comics cannot work white nightclubs. If you sang and danced, you can, but you couldn't stand flat-footed and talk.
Really?
I became the first black in the history of America to stand flat-footed and talk to white folk, because up until then, this racist system never permitted a man, black, or a woman, black, to stand flat-footed and talk to America. When I went on the Jack Paw show, I was the first black on the Jack Paw show that was permitted to sit down on the couch. Not because they wanted to, because I refused to go. And I knew going on the Jack Paw show, my salary would go from $50 a night to $5,000 a night.
These are the same doors that gave problems to Bill Cosby and Red Fox.
Who are some of the names we should know?
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby was a bartender.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Red Fox, Mom's Maid, all of them was there, but it was only known in the African American community.
The way Gregory broke these doors down, uncanny. At the time, it was not yet proven a black comedian can go into white rooms and make jokes poking fun at the social climate.
I hate to see any baseball player having troubles, but that's a great sport for my people. That is the only sport in the world where a Negro can shake a stick at a white man and won't start no riot.
And so coming out of that, and I didn't know anything about, I thought all white folks was free. I mean this is no stage show. I didn't know white folks would tolerate, because only white folks I saw was in the movie. And they didn't tolerate it. John Wayne was my man. Say, if you right and they wrong, shoot them.
To do this, especially in those times, it took Moxy, along with the talent to go with it. Before we move on, do me one small favor, hit that like button. And if you haven't yet, apply pressure to that subscribe button. Yes, apply pressure to that subscribe button.
Most of your big black entertainers work for white agents. They don't even want to be around Negroes.
It's always nice being back in New York. You know, I'll let you in on a little secret. I was really planning on moving to New York until I read one day where Mayor Wagner's not going to run again for office, which led me to believe that he knows something. And one weird thing, I'm standing on the corner and this one guy's running down the street with a couch on his back. So I said, hey buddy, are you a looter? And he says, no, I'm a psychiatrist on my way to a house call.
Gregory was a pioneer at interlacing politics with comedy. And he was the first of his kind breaking down barriers.
You young folks, you have to understand where you are today. I mean, I'm born in 1932. We were so dumb, we used to listen to tap dancers on the radio.
To some, it seemed too good to be true, as if it were a smokescreen sent from the enemy. And one of these individuals was the one and only Malcolm X.
These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns.
Malcolm will go on the broadcast and include Dick Gregory in the category unsettling.
Just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually
athletes and entertainers.
I don't hang out with entertainers, no athletes.
Okay.
The filthiest people on this planet is athletes and entertainers.
The two eventually became friends, citing that Malcolm had Dick Gregory as his guest speaker and at one time introduced him as such. We hope that we haven't kept you long, but a very good friend of mine and a very good friend of yours is on his way here, and I didn't want to have too much to say in front of him. He's a person whose actions in the past have actually spoken for themselves. He's a master of revolution. We're living in a revolutionary world in a revolutionary age, but you and I have never met a real dyed-in-the-wool black revolutionary before. So tonight, we want to unveil one. Their relationship would start tumultuous, but end as a cultural connection that extended far past the grave.
And in that old heathen movie, they ain't got room in that to tell me about what Betty did. But can show Malcolm snorting coke and having sex with a white woman in a car. This is a black person that did that.
Gregory was one of the main people speaking out on the conspiracies of the assassination of Malcolm X.
I knew Malcolm. I loved Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, "Brother Greg, you coming by today?" And I said, "Malcolm, I love you." And I said, "I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there." He said, "What do you mean, Brother Greg?" I said, "Well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East." And I said, "But I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get two of us for the price of one. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government going to get you. Okay. And I'm not going to be there. I love you. I don't even want to take a chance of my heart changing. So I went to Chicago.
Malcolm X's daughter mentioned at Dick Gregory's funeral how vocal and proactive he was in attempting to find the killer of her father.
I am humbled and honored to be here with you on this special day as we celebrate the life of this extraordinary man, Baba Dick Gregory. Much like our fathers, Dick Gregory stood up to the power structure to reclaim truth and justice for his people. And when it was time to clarify who took Brother Malcolm's life, it was Dick Gregory who rose to the occasion.
This conspiracy brought to light the trajectory of the bullets that hit Malcolm when he was assassinated. But he also connected the assassination of another high-profile figure who was assassinated at the same time.
Malcolm was killed because of another brother named DePinto. A lot of people thought he was African, but he was East Indian. He was born in Nairobi. He's the one that changed Malcolm's head from black nationalist to Pan-Africanism and made that connection from here to there. And the government said, we can't let this happen. He's the one that persuaded Malcolm when he went to Africa and stayed 7 weeks and met with all the real leaders. And then he's the one that discussed with Malcolm of bringing racism to the doorsteps of the UN. And as Malcolm was being shot dead in New York City, DePinto was being gunned down in Nairobi. All right. Same time.
Gregory's questioning of assassinations did not stop at Malcolm X. He questioned and lectured alternate theories for other assassinations such as JFK and
An old
MLK.
friend of Dr. King, Dick Gregory, and an old friend of mine.
Fine. God bless you. I find it kind of hard finding that the day Kennedy was getting his head blown off in Dallas, all the telephone communication system was blown out in Washington, D.C., and the press didn't report this. I find it very strange that the day Kennedy was being shot in Dallas, that everybody in his cabinet, except Robert Kennedy, was on a plane on their way to Tokyo.
Because one thing about Dick Gregory, he was not afraid to speak.
Is there an Illuminati?
If you know about it, it's not. That's bullshit.
Okay.
The real things that count, most black folk don't know about it.
Michael Jackson, his passing, he was killed, but it had nothing to do with the Sony catalog, but the estate just sold the rights back to the Beatles catalog back.
That didn't happen until after he was dead. He bought the Beatles for $12 million. After they killed him, they sold it for $2 billion. That's white supremacy. Nigga, you can't own this.
Who we are.
Right.
You see, when you take, you see, Africa, the continent, is larger than India, China, and Europe put together. Okay? Now, but they was like nations. The Igbos didn't like the Wook, and the so-and-so didn't like it. And so you go over there, and you see somebody speaking a language that you don't know, the next country you go to, which is the same continent. And so what slavery did, because when you're dealing with universal order, They came in and stole all of us. I didn't like you because you belonged to that tribe. I didn't like you belong to that. And so they stole us and brought us in one big tent. And then we started having sex and intermingling. And so if you had 200 candy bars sitting here now, and out of each candy bar, you had the scientists pick me the one best thing out of that and then make one candy bar. That's what an African American is. Never ever had there been anybody on this planet that all those tribes had mixed. Why do you think out of all the slaves in the history of the planet, 5,000 years was the least before they broke their chains? We broke ours in less than 300 because he thought he was stealing workers. He was stealing scientists. I built the pyramid, boy. I'm the one that told you to call it the Big Dip and call it all of that.
Gregory's infatuation with mixing politics and comedy turned out to be more than just creativity. It flashed a deeper connection, which was to see a change.
When I go down on that front line, I'm willing to die. When I walk up on the stage, I don't expect to die. Two different things. People say, well, how much comedy you think, what effect have I? I don't know. When I walk up on the stage, I go figure to laugh. When I go down there to march, I go to die or change something.
And what better way to go after a change than to run for the President of the United States?
Would be some of my basic goals as president, to run this country from a statesmanship standpoint, not from a political standpoint. And I feel the massive problems confronting America today will be solved through statesmanship ability and not political muscle.
One of the things in American politics that Gregory hated the most was the two-party system.
Well, one, I had already announced 18 months ago that I was a presidential candidate as a write-in because I feel that the two-party system is obsolete. The two-party system is so corrupt and immoral, they cannot solve the problems confronting the masses of the people in this country.
The two-party system almost always leads to voting for the lesser of two evils.
What's the lesser of the evils? That's a violation of God.
That's right.
Here's the lesser of the evils. Your grandmother's sick. And you have to go because you got a foot operation. And you only got two people you can pick from to watch her till you get back. One has been arrested for old women. He's been arrested twice. The other one's been arrested 40 times. Which one do you pick? The one that's been arrested twice or 40? That's the lesser of the evils.
One tirade that Gregory's remembered for the most is his $1 bill.
As a campaign gimmick, Dick Gregory, the former comedian running for president on the Freedom and Peace ticket, has distributed political flyers resembling dollar bills. Today, the Secret Service said they look too much like the real thing and acknowledged that quantities of them have been confiscated. There were complaints that some of Gregory's flyers have been turning up in automatic dollar-changing machines.
Interestingly enough, Gregory would have a shot at the most powerful position in the world, but that would come with a glitch.
November the 4th. This article ran 4 days later. You see the date on that, November the what?
November 7, 1968.
And what newspaper?
Page 6 of the Wall Street Journal.
Okay, now listen to me now. This didn't run in no other paper. So y'all want to understand about this country, you see. Wall Street Journal, one of the most respected papers in the world by fools. Mm-hmm. Now read the headline.
Election computer goofs gives Gregory 9 million votes.
Now stop there. Some white folks, against my better judgment, fought to put me on the ballot. So when the election polls was closed, Pewter gave me 9 million. Election Central set it down and said the projected president of the United States is Dick Gregory.
Wow.
That plurality cannot be overcome. This is your America. What they meant to do was plug that up to Nixon, and somebody goofed.
Not winning the presidential seat did not stop Dick Gregory's quest for change. From speaking up for feminism, to speaking about the Vietnam War, to vegan rights, Gregory continued to make moves.
About a year ago in A.B. Palmer Park, the people of the black working class neighborhood of Cedar Grove looked on in horror as youths in the area ran wild. The looting, burning, and violence began because a young white woman shot and killed a young black man over a drug transaction. Dick Gregory came to town for a business meeting, and that was the turning point. By actually moving into A.B. Palmer Park and bringing media attention and celebrities to the area, Dick Gregory has driven the drug dealers out, helping the people take their street corners and park back.
Gregory broke ground in 3 different spectrums of power: politics, entertainment, and community. So of course, that would invite some unwanted guests.
I mean, there's things about my life that only the CIA and the FBI know.
Gregory's work throughout his tenure made people draw a thin line between his entertainment work, politics, and activism.
There used to be many who doubted the motives of Dick Gregory. He's been a leading figure in the civil rights movement, and yet he is billed as a comic. Judge for yourself, because we believe him to be a funny, courageous man.
Politics is something that, if not more corrupt than Hollywood, it has just as many wrinkles.
White boy and a brother came to me and offered me $500,000, not to get out the race, but to get on the ballot. Mm-hmm. I said, well, I'd have to get a petition. Said, no, we already got that. Mm. And so the white boy said to the brother, give me my $100. And I said, what's that about? He said, this is your brother. He betted me $100 you take the money, and I bet him you wouldn't.
One area that Gregory made substantial ground in, outside of politics and entertainment, is his work as a nutritionist. He was an avid supporter of fasting.
I'm no damn entertainer. When I looked at Michael Jackson, looked at James Brown, that footwork, no envy. I knew Michael better than his family. I put Michael on a 30-day water fast. 30 days, nothing but water. And all he talked about is the James Brown. Not out of envy, but out of respect. And then one day, after 39 years, he went on the other side, it was the moonwalk.
You can say sort of like a pre-Dr. Umar. His studies ran concurrent with other black doctors such as Dr. Sebi, and it was really focused on how nutrition is way more of importance than the government expresses.
The number 3 cause of cancer. Number 2 cause of cancer today, salt. The number 3 killer on planet Earth is black refined sugar. And they keep us so intellectually parents give it to their children. That's what they want them to talk to. Oh, we talk about the farmers in America, public schools in our area. Most of the people do some research. You find out that the farmers having donuts in public schools started the same year the school lunch program. But it's here, and in delinquency, I've been tied in to done a fantastic study that the Tidewater Detention Center, when they know that 98% of your hard repeat violent criminals need a minimum of $450. They did a blind study, took half the children off of white refined sugar and left the other half on instead of keto doctors in there and didn't care what was what. And every one of them that wasn't eating sugar, you could see a whole decrease and totally disappearance of violence.
The same sentiment I've heard from some surprising voices such as Styles P and the Locks.
Then in 2003, I actually got incarcerated. I kind of realized, I knew my temper was really bad. So I was like, why do I have a bad temper? Like, what is it that's making me go this way? So I said, something has to do with food.
Similar to Dr. Sebi, Dick Gregory conducted his own research on some of the top-tier diseases that ran rampant in the black community.
African Americans is less than 12% of America's population, and yet as we sit here now, 87% of everybody on kidney dialysis machines is black folks. There's something wrong with that number. Young black teenage boys in America had more asthma deaths in 1 year than all the asthma deaths on this planet put together.
Before the average person could Google this information, Gregory was someone that initiated personal research on these topics. One clear example is that of chlorine and fluoride.
Though there are those of us that know what the pineal gland, what medicine says it's for, and what that would mean. And so those people's job is to make sure that there's fluoride in all the water. So your pineal gland will shrivel.
Get calcified or whatever happens to it.
That's all.
The fluoride thing is wild.
Gregory thrived during a certain era where social media was just becoming more prevalent. So a lot of today's behaviors and actions and antics, they're nothing new.
It lets you get a little pump. Thug, dog entertainer, Cedric the Entertainer out of St. Louis, Missouri, and I really shouldn't think much out of that Negro thug. Said Martin Luther King in barbershop, and you black folks that went to see it and still go to it. Said King wasn't nothing but a whore.
One thing that you see more of today is attacking of the interviewer.
And others is magnificent, and nobody asks worse questions. You have the worst questions in all of interviewing, and you can count on it. Nobody's gonna mimic your questions.
Dick Gregory had that lane on lock.
See, you ask me shit that I don't qualify to answer.
Okay.
Why did they want him dead now?
No. I mean, they got his money from his dad, yeah.
I didn't ask you that. See, you keep talking to me. I don't want to hear. I asked you, have you ever seen a picture of his daddy?
No, I have not.
Have you ever heard a story about his daddy? And that don't bother you?
A lot of people are saying he had gotten the rights to his recordings.
He got the what?
The rights to his master recordings.
Well, they tell you that so you can repeat it. How you know?
He had said it.
Huh?
He had said it. His lawyers.
How you know that was him? How you know who the fucking lawyers was? Huh?
Okay.
Dick Gregory was very active during a time internet radio and social media as a whole began to flourish. So one lane you can say he had a hand in creating would be that of Dr. Umar Johnson.
They convinced me that all black women are ugly. That's the, okay? They convinced black women that all black women are ugly. The only woman on the planet, a black American woman, go to a place called a beauty parlor. All the rest of them hair salons, beauty parlor. They teach me something's wrong with my hair. My hair didn't come from Sears and Roebuck. It came from the same God that put the universe together. And yet you hear black folks say, oh, she got good hair, she got bad hair. I've never taught my children you have to be twice as smart as white people. See, children don't hear what you mean, they hear what you say. And when you tell them they got to be twice as smart, in their mind, they think they dumb. That's how it works.
He gave many speeches on community awareness way before social media even became relevant.
Do you know the #1 killer in Jamaica of young folks? Not drive-bys, not drugs, huh?
What?
Not bleaching cream.
Yes.
You hear me?
Now they're getting them Asians.
Wait a second. No. The #1 killer of Chinese women in China is bleaching cream. The Hollywood movies have taught you that yellow ain't enough.
Okay. So if...
And I know all white folks ain't white.
Okay.
I tell white folks that if you can't get on the phone and call the stock market and determine if they're going up or going down, you ain't white.
One of my favorite videos on YouTube is the interaction between him and Paul Mooney.
Mr. Dick Gregory, who's over here. Everybody knows and loves him. And of course, Mr. Paul Mooney. You know, he's in the building as well. Who was first on the scene? Was it you and did Paul? You were?
You know, it's Dick Gregory.
Oh, okay.
He up there trying to act crazy.
Oh, come on, man. He got socks older than me.
The world was a lot different when they started, and the back and forth between these two was classic.
The humor that you all do now touches on race and politics and all that. But did you have that sort of racial humor back in the 50s and 60s? Was that even allowed?
We all had it. White folks didn't have that. We all had it. I mean, we knew it. We knew what was going on. We get up there. You see, all African Americans knew what we was talking about. They felt it. They knew.
So you didn't have to code it. You could be as direct as you are today.
No, you weren't even thinking about that. Put me. He's white, man.
Can I ask you this?
Used to be white. Did you
taking all them herbs?
Did you stole something?
That's funny.
And they said he can't be white no more. He's shopping.
You had two of the greatest voices from the black community just exchanging knowledge.
Has Paul Mooney ever written for you?
Oh, no, I couldn't afford it. Oh, big bucks, man. Big bucks.
One thing I noticed is that Mooney was very attentive and he was trying to impress Dick Gregory.
Control the banks, control the education. We have never, I don't care how many PhDs you got, you have never lived in a neighborhood. We live in a hood.
Right.
And a hood is something you put on your face, over your face when you're trying to hide something. And so consequently, until we control all of that, then we don't control. Well, when you're living in a system that this is the most important thing going, you want to be part of it. Just like TV. TV becomes the most important.
But you know what? It was economics. Because they didn't want to pay black people. They wanted black people to do something, like picking cotton, for free.
Yeah, well,
so they kept the radio white, and they said, well, we'll just act like them and keep the money too.
That makes sense.
It was apparent that he was cognizant that Gregory was a black icon whose days were numbered on this earth. So his presence will be nothing but a blessing to experience.
There's John Hanson, black face, gray nappy hair. Okay? Now, let's show you how it works. $2 bill. All money belongs to the 12 Federal Reserve banks. So if you have this, it's not to the United States, it belongs to this family, 11th family. Okay? Now, let's watch. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. So now, this is, glad you said that. Now, this here belongs to the 11th Federal Reserve, which is the 11th family.
That's right.
Okay? Now, universal law, they can't hide it. Here he is there.
On August 19th, 2017, Dick Gregory succumbed to heart failure that came from a bacterial infection.
Comedian and civil rights activist Dick Gregory has died at the age of 84. We're told he died late Saturday in Washington, D.C. after being hospitalized for a week from a severe bacterial infection.
One of the first black comedians to bring racially charged comedy to white audiences in the early 1960s.
And icons from all around the world paid homage.
Whoopi Goldberg calling him a fall-on-your-face laughing comedian. And singer John Legend, who produced a play about him, sang Dick Gregory lived an amazing, revolutionary life.
Gregory is being remembered most of all for being one of the first black stand-up comedians to find success with white audiences in the early 1960s. He leaves behind a wife and 10 children.
We're celebrating the life of a civil rights activist and comedian, Dick Gregory.
Yeah, fans are paying tribute to the man who so brilliantly used humor to fight against racism and to fight for social justice. And Ron is back with more. He had some brilliant
He really did. Dick Gregory died in Washington yesterday. He once said that humor can no more find the solution to race problems than it can cure cancer. True, but Gregory's edgy brand of comedy made a lot of people, white and black, at least do some hard thinking about those problems.
Though his work for the community, in my opinion, took more of the front stage center than his actual comedy, his position is still unmovable. To have comics such as Patrice O'Neal, Katt Williams, Dave Chappelle, and Paul Mooney Someone had to go and break the glass.
No, Dick opened the door for a lot of us.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you
Well,
first?
He did that crossover with that Playboy Club.
One of the best things about Dick Gregory is you can't forget the many layers of his philanthropy, as long as you don't forget one of his many accomplishments, both comedically and socially.
One of the first black comedians with crossover appeal to white audiences, Gregory would become an outspoken activist for civil rights.
You can always laugh at problems that's right. Everyone in the whole world knows this is a wrong. So then you can make humor out of this, and matter of fact, you're enlightening people.
He marched in Selma, Alabama in 1965, protested the Vietnam War, often staging hunger strikes. Later in his career, he went on to perform in TV specials, never losing his hallmark edge.
I came back in from Europe last month, CNN. Mr. Gregory, you think we'll ever catch Bin Laden? I say, we. I ain't looking for him.
From making this documentary about Gregory, I learned a lot, and I would describe his expression the same as this one person once said. Everything that comes out of Dick Gregory's mouth is either the funniest thing you've ever heard, the most insightful thing you've ever heard, or insane conspiracy theory, and you never know which it will be. This world will be a much better place if not only athletes and entertainers, but us as a whole looked at Dick Gregory as an example. And if you like this documentary, I'm sure you'll like the other documentaries I've done on Katt Williams and Patrice O'Neal. Rest in peace to the legendary Dick Gregory. Well, anyway, you know how we like to end our videos over here at Moxy Approved, right? With that water. I'll see you here next time on Moxy Approved.